Why are you tuned into this presentation today? Are you sick and tired of financial setbacks? Or maybe you lost your job and now you're pending bankruptcy and the possibility of losing everything. Or maybe you have your job, but you're just so worn down with that gut-wrenching fear that you may lose it. It could be that you have a health condition and somebody cared about your situation enough to share this presentation with you. Maybe you're one of those moms who's faced with having to go back to work and you're dealing with the heartache of having to put your children in daycare. I know that was something that happened to me, that I faced. Maybe you just stumbled across this link by accident, or maybe you're one of those people that feels like no matter how hard you work, and you genuinely are working very hard, that still there's more month at the end of your paycheck. Or maybe you or somebody you know just got a call from your doctor and found out that you're struggling with a life-threatening illness. And maybe it's just plain and simple that you are sick and tired of sacrificing your time to make ends meet. I don't know what your why is, but I can tell you this. There is something for everyone in this video presentation today. In this presentation, you're going to learn how you can stop being a victim to your health, to your financial setbacks, or to any of the other whys that we just talked about. The information in this presentation is for people who are looking for a health breakthrough, like my mom, who suffered with 8 weeks of pain so excruciating that she pretty much lost all of her mobility, but in less than 1 week was able to walk again. This information is for people who are trying to get ahead in life, be it emotional, physical, or financial. And it's for you. You made the right choice by tuning in tonight. Now, this is not going to be your typical sales pitchy type of presentation because you are going to be getting an education like you've never had before. And if you do nothing with anything that I offer you today, you are going to walk away with hope. This information is so valuable that really I could be charging about $500 for doing this training, but I'm not going to. When this video presentation is all said and done, your eyes are going to be so wide open that it will benefit you every day and every decision that you make. I'm going to tell you a true story now about a stay-at-home mom who just sold over $16,000 worth of valuable equipment one cold Saturday morning. And that stay-at-home mom is me. I'm going to be telling you why it was so easy for me to do that, and I'm going to be telling you why and how it will be easy for you too. I'm also going to be talking to you today about a company who's been in the United States for over 20 years and why they have had no problem selling well over 2 million households. With that, I'd like to introduce myself and welcome you to today's presentation. For those of you who like to have an idea of who it is that's speaking with you, the person in the picture, that's me, Laura Brown. And I'd like to introduce my husband to you, Jeremiah. Go ahead, say hi, honey.
Hello, everyone.
We come to you tonight from the small town of Litchfield, Minnesota. And if you see where St. Cloud is in the center of the map of Minnesota, Litchfield would be about an hour south and west of St. Cloud. Jeremiah and I have been married for going on over 5 years now, and they've definitely been the happiest 5 years of my life. Hopefully he'll say the same.
Of course.
We are also the very happy, proud parents of our little boy, Ethan. God has blessed us with an amazing child, and he's going on 16 months and truly is the pride and joy of our lives. But that's going to wrap it up for my introduction. I am keeping it brief intentionally because we have a lot of information to cover with you tonight or today, and you do not want to miss it. You are going to be given a risk-free opportunity to take control of your financial future. You're also going to be able to improve your health. You're going to have a risk-free opportunity to help others do the same and get for it. We're going to be talking today about what the most vital element on earth is. Now, how many of you ever had a chemistry class in high school or in college? I did, and I loved it. But if you're like me, I bet you never thought you'd be seeing this chart again. This is the good old periodic table of elements. Now, based on this chart, what do you think the most vital element on earth is? If you said oxygen, you are correct. Oxygen is the only element in our body's composition that must be replaced on a second-by-second, moment-by-moment basis in order to sustain our life. We know that without food we can make it 3 weeks to a month, and without water we can make it 1 to 3 days. But without oxygen, it is over in just a couple minutes. If you're lucky to survive beyond 2 to 3 minutes, you're probably going to have some brain damage. Now, I promise you, this is not a presentation about how important it is for us to breathe. I mean, we all know this, let's be real. But think with me for a moment. When you wake up in the morning and you have just very little energy and you're tired, what do you go for? Or maybe when it's 3:30 in the afternoon and you're tired and your energy's waning, what do you go for? What do you grab? Yeah, most of us are going to go for food and beverage, be it coffee, pop, whatever it is. We think that that's going to give us a boost and a kick. But our thinking, unfortunately, is mostly incorrect because 90% of our biological energy actually comes from oxygen and only 10% from food and water. Our bodies need oxygen to carry out every process in our bodies. Like your brain, for example. Your brain needs oxygen in order to process all those billions of pieces of information that it gets all the time. We need oxygen in order to help our bodies get rid of waste and toxins. And here's something that we don't consider very often. Even our thinking and our feeling require a ton of oxygen. When you look at the 4 vital elements that are responsible for the generation and the sustaining of human life, that being protein, carbohydrates, water, and energy, what do you notice that they all have in common? When you look at their chemical makeup, what is the same about them? Oxygen. They all have oxygen in their makeup. Now, some of you may still be thinking, yeah, no kidding, lady, we know this. But do we? You are about to find out why we maybe don't know this as deeply as we should, and the ramifications for it. Now, I apologize if that sounds harsh. I realize that it may have sounded harsh, but I can tell you this. If you can grab a hold of what Jeremiah and I are going to share with you today, it will change your life. And the opportunity that parallels this information is second to none. It's changed our lives, and we want to share it with you so you can change your life too. Now, go with me on a tangent here for a moment. We're going to talk about the health and wellness industry just a bit. The health and wellness industry is a $1 trillion a year industry, and it's growing. There are new products every day, and that's hard to argue. Okay, you can't turn on your television, you can't check your email or do a Google search or even open up a magazine without seeing the latest, greatest advertisement for the newest product on the market. Maybe it's a weight loss product. Maybe it's a product to help you lower your cholesterol or your blood pressure or balance your blood sugars. Maybe it's the latest strategy for the fountain of youth or something to help you have more energy. And now, some of these products are very good. I realize that. I'm not bashing these products at all. If you were to look at mine and Jeremiah's cupboards, we have cabinets just reserved for supplements alone. So I realize they're good. But you know what? They are secondary. All of those kinds of products are secondary. Whatever you are trying to accomplish depends on your body's ability to do one thing and one thing only. Whether you're looking to lose weight, whether it's an illness you're dealing with, or maybe just looking towards disease prevention, if you're trying to increase your energy or find that fountain of youth, it all depends on your body's ability to do one thing. It all hinges on your body's ability to utilize oxygen. Now, I'm going to be showing you a chart. If you have a pen and paper handy, go ahead and grab it now, because you're going to be seeing a list. And when you look at this list, there are going to be names of people that you know that are going to come to your mind. Write those names down. Okay, here's the list. Do you or does someone you know have any of the following? Go ahead and take a look at that list. Are there names starting to come to mind? I'm going to give you a few seconds to look at this. Now, if someone told you that HTE's Sun Ancon Chi machine could possibly reduce or eliminate the above symptoms, would you listen? And right there, some of you are already thinking, 1, how can she say that? And 2, what the heck is a Chi machine? Well, this is a picture of a Chi machine, the Sun Ancon Chi machine. It's a small device that's designed to oxygenate your body and to give you a gentle spinal balance. Now, some of you are already noticing that the lady's feet are in it. And you're probably wondering, how on earth does that oxygenate your body? I'm going to be explaining more about that in just a little bit, so hold on. But back to the chart that I just showed you. For those of you that were thinking, how can she say that? Here's one reason that I can say that. Because of people I know. I'm going to introduce you to 2 ladies right now. And the first person I'm going to tell you about is my friend Susie. Susie first came to me, well, she originally came to me because she was having a lot of problems with her back. And she decided to purchase a Chi machine, and yes, it helped her with her back problems. But she had an unexpected surprise. You see, Susie suffered for years with severe asthma. In fact, she suffered all her life. She was burning through inhalers faster than she could get prescriptions for them. and she wouldn't be able to breathe at night. Susie has told me stories about how she would wake up unable to breathe, and the only thing she could do to help her breathe would be to make a really strong pot of coffee. And we figured it's probably because of the stimulants and the caffeine that were helping her to breathe. Well, a few months after she bought the Chi machine, I had somebody else ask me if the Chi machine would work for asthma. And I knew that it would help with asthma, but I called Susie just to see where her asthma was at. And she actually had to think about the last time she used her inhaler and realized that it had been about 4 months. Well, not very long ago, Susie had the opportunity to share her story with a group of people. And when she was sharing with them, what she told them was that her husband had recently bought her a pair of cross-country skis for her birthday. Now, Susie had told me that before the Chi machine, just being outside during a Minnesota winter was absolutely impossible. She said she wasn't even able to carry her groceries from her car into the house without having a severe asthma attack. But now she can cross-country ski without any problems. And the other lady I'd like to introduce you to is Carol. Carol and I met because of the Chi machine. When she first came to me, she was suffering, or had been suffering for years with fibromyalgia and migraines. Now, Carol had told me that her pain was so bad that she would end up in the emergency room just to get pain meds, and she said that a lot of times those pain medications didn't even touch the pain. She was also on antidepressants and sleeping pills. Now, for those of you who have fibromyalgia, you understand this, but for those of us that don't, when somebody has fibromyalgia, when you have that much pain without relief over a period of time, it can throw you into a serious depression. And when you're depressed and your body is in pain, a lot of times you end up with insomnia. Well, Carol bought a Chi machine and she had the most amazing results. Within 2 weeks, her pain and depression were gone, and she was able to start sleeping through the night. Now, in order to really appreciate Carol's story, we have to understand is that Carol was, well, and she still is a flight attendant. So her body is really taking some abuse. But she wasn't even able to use her Chi machine every day in those first 2 weeks that she had it because of her flight schedule. To this day, Carol's had her Chi machine for going on over 5 years, and she is still pain-free. The other reason that I can use the would you listen if statement is because I know exactly what the Sun Ancon Chi machine does for your body. The Sun Ancon Chi machine will oxygenate every cell of your body. It was invented by a Japanese doctor, Dr. Shizao Inoue, who spent decades upon decades researching and studying the correlation between low oxygen levels in human health. And he became so convinced in his research that he says this: "My research has convinced me that the lack of oxygen is the root of most, or perhaps even all, diseases." Now, there are 38 years of research behind the invention and design of the Sun Ancon Chi machine. Every design mechanic was so meticulously researched and tested to make sure that all aspects of it would be physiologically beneficial to our bodies. What about you? Do you think there's a link between oxygen deficiency and disease? Let's take a look at what some of the experts are saying. Dr. Arthur Guyton says, in the textbook of medical physiology, all chronic pain, suffering, and diseases are caused from a lack of oxygen at the cell level. Now, Dr. Stephen Levine, who is a renowned molecular biologist and a geneticist, says that in all serious disease, we find a low oxygen state. Low oxygen in the body tissues is a sure indicator for disease. Lack of oxygen in the tissues is the fundamental cause for all degenerative disease. How many degenerative diseases can you think of right now? Lupus, MS, Parkinson's, the list goes on and on. And so I think that maybe we should read this again. Lack of oxygen in the tissues is the fundamental cause for all degenerative diseases. Now, folks, this information didn't just pop up overnight. It's been around for nearly 100 years. And if you don't believe me, just do a quick search on this guy, Dr. Otto Warburg. Dr. Warburg won the Nobel Prize all the way back in 1931, and it was a Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine. And what he won it for was for his research in the respiration process of cells. He was able to show, in summary, that healthy cells are dependent on oxygen for their energy, but unhealthy cells don't, including cancer. Now, what he showed later on was that unhealthy cells get their energy from sugar. Okay, I have to be very careful with what I say in this presentation, so I'm not going to tell you much more about Dr. Otto Warburg, but your homework is to Google him, and when you find out the information that he had, that he researched, that he discovered, and that he made available and pretty much told the world, it's probably going to make you very angry that so many people are dying needlessly when this information has been around for so long and we know it. All right, so that's your homework. Ladies and gentlemen, it's nearly 2000, well, it is in the year 2013, and he didn't just wake up one night in 1931 and win the Nobel Prize. He clocked years of research. So we're talking 1920s, and yet it's 2013 today. So that's why I can say this information has been around for nearly 100 years. But let's take a look at some of the benefits of oxygen. We know that oxygen helps to fight infection. It helps heal injuries. How many of you ever put hydrogen peroxide on a wound that your child had? Or maybe you're a child who received hydrogen peroxide ointments or therapy from your parents when you got that scraped knee. We know that it helps heal injuries. Oxygen helps to aid in the collagen production of our skin, okay? When you can increase collagen, you can help to counter the aging process. Oxygen helps to boost the immune system. And I love this one. It helps in the regeneration of nerve cells. How many autoimmune diseases can you think of right now that greatly affect, or that primarily affect, the nerve cells? Yeah, MS, Parkinson's, lupus, and the list goes on and on. We know that oxygen heightens concentration, alertness, and memory. So can you see how important this is for students across the country? We know that oxygen strengthens the heart and that it aids in restful sleep. How many of you have ever struggled with insomnia? I have, and I would not wish that upon anybody. Now, I've looked at some of the side effects of over-the-counter sleep aids, but also of prescription sleep aids, and they are very scary, folks. I am so glad that I have my tea machine. We know that oxygen also helps to lessen chronic fatigue, and I would bet that right now we could all think of at least 2 people who've been diagnosed with chronic fatigue. So at this point, I think that we can all agree that oxygen has more important benefits than we tend to think of. But here enters the problem. I'm going to be sharing with you why more and more experts are saying every day that we are actually oxygen deficient. But let's briefly review oxygen. This is a pie graph that shows basically the oxygen content of our air. And we know that the oxygen in our air is anywhere from 19 to 21%, or the oxygen in our atmosphere is anywhere from 19 to 21%. And there are some studies out there that show it being as high as about 23% with some samplings that have been taken. But where does all that oxygen come from? Well, 98% of the oxygen in our air supply comes from something called photosynthesis. Okay, half of the photosynthesis comes from blue-green algae, which we find in our oceans and in our lakes, and the other half comes from plants and trees on land. And the remaining 2% of the oxygen in our air supply comes from water vapor, and that happens when UV radiation splits those. Well, here's the deal. Let's talk about the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution took place from roughly 1820 to 1870. And scientists have learned from studying air samples that were trapped in ice cores dating back to before the Industrial Revolution that we have roughly 30% more carbon dioxide in our air today. And this is significant because we lose nearly 3 oxygen molecules for every carbon dioxide molecule that exists in the air. And we also know that there's been a slight decline in the oxygen content in our air. Dr. Ralph Keeling did a very in-depth study. He set himself up in 2 places, in La Jolla, California and in Tasmania. And it was an 18-year study in which he took consistent samplings of the oxygen in the atmosphere, and he found that there is a 0.0317% decline. Now, I realize that that is a very small amount, but consider this. Scientists estimate a total atmospheric decline from pre-industrial revolution to the end of December 2004 to be about 0.095%. Now, I realize that that's less than 0.1%, But remember this, remember that the oxygen content of our air is between 19 and 21%. Listen to what OSHA has to say. OSHA rules on atmosphere and enclosed environments. What they say is that if the oxygen level in such an environment falls below 19.5%, it's oxygen deficient. And people in those environments are at risk of losing consciousness and death. So you think we'll just avoid confined spaces, right? Well, unfortunately, that's not exactly the case because oxygen levels in very polluted, impacted cities have dipped below 19%. And some studies show that when samplings were taken, certain samples show that it was as low as 12 to 17%. Mr. Erwin Lazo, who's United Nations advisor, says this: at these levels, it is difficult for people to get sufficient oxygen to what? To maintain bodily health. It takes a proper intake of oxygen to keep body cells and organs and the entire immune system functioning at full efficiency. Now, remember, when 90% of our biological energy comes from oxygen and only 10% from food and water, and based on the well-established link between low oxygen levels and disease, maybe we should consider, 1, are we getting enough oxygen, and 2, whether our bodies are actually utilizing that oxygen. Now, Dr. Spencer Way says, in what? In the Journal of the American Association of Physicians, that insufficient oxygen means insufficient biological energy that can result in anything from mild fatigue to life-threatening disease. The link between insufficient oxygen and disease has now been what? Firmly established. And here again, another doctor, Dr. Norman McVeigh, says, the link between insufficient oxygen and disease has been firmly established. The evidence is overwhelming. Now, he also says that the best way to optimize health is to be sure that we oxygenate every cell in our body. Isn't it a good thing that we have the Sun Ancon Chi machine? Dr. McVeigh also makes the point loud and clear that we get this or understand this today more than ever before because of a deficiency in our oxygen intake. Look with me, if you will, for a minute here. We know that there are consequences for having other deficiencies in our body. Like if somebody has anemia, we know that they have an iron deficiency. Osteoporosis and brittle bones would be a calcium or a vitamin D deficiency. Beriberi, B1, rickets or osteomalacia would be a vitamin D. And for those that are in colder states like us in Minnesota, seasonal affective disorder, this is huge, but that's a deficiency in vitamin D3. And scurvy, we grew up hearing about that in our high school classes. That's a deficiency in vitamin C, and night blindness would be vitamin A. Well, if well-known vitamin and mineral deficiencies can cause such diseases as these, why are we not more concerned about a deficiency in our bodies of the most vital element ever, that being oxygen? Now, these vitamins and minerals are very important. I mean, just look at what you can end up with if you're deficient in them. But how many more ailments and life-threatening diseases are a result of the one element, a lack of the one element, oxygen, that we need to utilize every second in order to stay alive? Well, how do our bodies get oxygenated? Through breathing. When we breathe, we exchange oxygen and carbon dioxide. Oxygen gets picked up in your hemoglobin in your blood and it's distributed to your body's some 75 trillion cells. And that's when oxidation occurs. Now, oxidation is when your cells convert nutrients and oxygen to energy, and then they help your body get rid of toxins and other waste. But this process cannot occur without low amounts of oxygen. Well, why are we so oxygen deficient? And I just have to say again, I am so glad that we have the Sun Ancon Chi machine to oxygenate every single cell in our bodies, because here are some reasons why we're indeed oxygen deficient. We've already talked a little bit about the depletion of oxygen in the air, but consider this. Let's look at deforestation. Oxygen-producing forests are the smallest they've ever been in recorded history. And this is significant. This is very important because less oxygen is being released into the air, and less carbon dioxide then is being absorbed and broken down. Now, remember in the very beginning when we talked about oxygen, I told you that roughly 50% of the oxygen supply in our atmosphere comes from phytoplankton. We know that since 1950, there's been a 40% decline in our phytoplankton population. And here's another thing. when you consider all the technology in the world technologies consume nearly 20 times the amount of oxygen that would normally be taken by 5 billion breathing humans. Something to consider. Now, Dr. John Muntz says that certainly there is scientific proof that the oxygen concentration in the atmosphere is being slowly reduced. And what's happening is that in Eastern countries like Japan, for example, it's not uncommon to walk down the streets and find oxygen bars or booths or cylinders because people are realizing that the air is so contaminated that we're not getting the amount of oxygen from it that we need. With these oxygen bars, they're becoming more and more popular on the East Coast. And if some of you are listening from the East Coast tonight, I'm sure you'll say that, yeah, they are. Now, my friend Carol, who I told you about earlier, she says that oxygen bars are popping up across airports like wildfire. And my husband and I found one in our own backyard. When we were doing some Christmas shopping at a very popular mall near us, we found an oxygen bar there as well because people are realizing that our oxygen supply is contaminated and that we're not getting the amount that we need for health. Now, another important reason that our oxygen is deficient is we need to look at our diets. Most of us are consuming junk foods, and the foods that you don't think are junk foods actually are junk foods, and that's an entire another training. So stay in contact with me and we can talk about more about that aspect of it. But the reason junk food is so awful for us is that it's very low in oxygen content, but so high in toxic preservatives and some of the other synthetics that are put in those things. And what happens is your body is forced to use large amounts of oxygen in order to get rid of those poisons and those toxins that are left over. And to say that there's any nutrition left in that food source, that's being pretty generous because the hardcore reality is that there's probably not any nutrition left. Now, our bodies need lots of complex carbohydrates, so those would be your vegetables and your whole grains. Why do we need those? Why are they so good for us? Because when you look at the weight of those foods, they're very high in oxygen content, with 50% of their weight being oxygen. Now, you compare that to foods that are really high in fat. Fats have about 15% oxygen concentration, and some proteins have as low as 20%. And the bottom line is that it requires so much oxygen from your body in order to convert those foods into energy. Now, we're going to talk about an acidic body for a moment, and this deals with food again, and it deals with some other things that are happening to our body, but we're going to focus on food for just a little bit, and we're going to talk about what I like to consider the big five. That being sugar, white flour, alcohol, and caffeine-loaded beverages like coffee and colas. These types of foods are extremely low in oxygen, but they're very high in calorie content. And what happens is your body has to rob so much oxygen, not just from your reserves, but from primary metabolic processes. What's a primary metabolic process? Things like proper heartbeat, circulation, brain function, immune response. Your body has to rob oxygen from these primary metabolic processes in order to oxidize and metabolize them and turn them into energy if they even can. Now, over time, this leads to a condition called chronic acidity, which would be a high toxic accumulation but very low oxygen. Now, we have an amazing creator who created our bodies to be able to try to alkalize themselves or neutralize those acids on a consistent basis. So we're going to look at the pH scale right now. And with the pH scale, this is a measurement of whether something is acidic or basis. And if you look at 7 is considered neutral, so distilled water would be a 7. But our bodies have a very small window of when they're actually pH balanced or alkalized, and that window is between 7.35 and 7.45. Now, having been in the health and wellness industry for going on 8 years now, I've had the pleasure of listening to a lot of different speakers and well-educated people, doctors even, talk about the importance of organic foods and non-GMO foods and just the importance of nutrition and considering everything that you're putting into your body. And one of the doctors that I had the pleasure of listening to did some research because he had actually been very sick. He'd had MS, and it forced him to really evaluate what he was putting into his body. And what he found was that it would take 32 glasses of purified water to pH balance yourself after just 1 can of pop or 1 8-ounce cup of coffee. Now, that's a huge deal because let's look at the acidic cycle for a second. Now, for whatever reason that your body is acidic, maybe it's because you have not been taking care of your diet, or maybe there's some other environmental factor. And you know what, I'm going to go off on a tangent here, and we're going to talk about negative emotions for a minute. Emotions like bitterness, anger, unforgiveness, even fear, these make our bodies very acidic. Now, I believe we have an awesome creator. And so when he tells us not to let the sun go down on our wrath, and when he tells us to forgive one another, when he tells us do not fear, it's not just a spiritual and an emotional implication. He created us. He knows how we were knit together in our mother's womb. He understands what happens to our body's physiology when we hang on to negative emotions like this. So, when our bodies are acidic, what your body does is it has to redirect oxygen to acidic tissues and cells, and then oxygen is robbed from those primary metabolic functions that we talked about so that your body can try to alkalize itself. This leaves your overall metabolism functioning in low gear, and your body has a reduced ability to dispose of excess waste toxins and poisons. And then you have a growing pile of poison that accumulates and accumulates. And tomorrow morning you wake up and you grab another cup of coffee and an unhealthy breakfast and a bag of Doritos at lunchtime and a can of pop, and the cycle continues. And maybe it's just hanging on to those negative emotions and reliving them over and over and over again that's forcing that acidic cycle to continue. Well, let's talk about chronic stress for a little bit. And those of us in this country, and I can't even just pick on this country, people living today, we are under constant chronic stress, be it chemical, physical, or emotional. But whatever the source is, the bottom line with these three is what's happening in your body when you're undergoing chronic stress for a long point of time is you have a reduction in oxygen because your body is trying to oxidize the toxins that accumulate when you have this type of chronic stress. Now, if you're chemically toxic, that could be from a medication, it could be from other environmental pollutants, it could be from things like cigarette smoke. And emotional stress, well, those could be your negative emotions again, or maybe it's an ongoing situation in your family that creates stress. Or it could simply be turning on the 6 o'clock news and seeing some other catastrophic event that's happened, or maybe you see the faces of little kindergartners flashing across your screen as you learn about the latest school shooting. So it's pretty hard to escape emotional stress. And maybe it's just a physical stress. Maybe you have a chronically heavy workload and you've had that for a long time. Whatever it is, it does wreak havoc on your body because it's making your body acidic. It's robbing your body of much needed oxygen. Well, what about infection? Infection requires a huge amount of oxygen in order for your body to fight those viruses and bacteria. And this has been one of the worst seasons for the flu outbreak. In fact, I've heard medical practitioners say that it could possibly be worse than the H1N1 outbreak of 2009. But how do our bodies get an infection? I'm going to answer that with another question. What happens when your body has low oxygen levels for a long period of time? Well, your body becomes an absolute breeding ground for invaders like bacteria, viruses, fungus, parasites, and any other infectious agent. Now, some of you may be aware of who Ed McCabe is, and for those of you that aren't, Ed McCabe is just one of this country's foremost researchers on oxygen, and he studies a lot of different ways that we can oxygenate your body, but he's written a couple of books, and in both his books, he talks about how infectious invaders are anaerobic, and what that means is that they live and thrive best in environments when there's little to no oxygen. And how can invaders do that? Well, when you have low oxygen level in your cells for any of the reasons we've just talked about, you are basically a sitting duck for pathogens to have easy access into your body. What they do is they set up homes and communities and colonies, and they excrete toxins that make us sick. Now that might manifest itself as a fever, or a sore throat, a runny nose, or maybe something a little more serious like cancer or chronic fatigue. But what happens is that as they can grow, they continue to rob our bodies of energy because we started off with a low oxygen content in our cells. Now, traditional sources of oxygen, like air, food, and water, we can no longer depend on those as a sufficient supply that our body needs for oxygen in order to get healthy. Well, if you think that you're pretty healthy and that you've avoided all those things that we've just talked about, what about the lack of proper sleep? Now, our bodies have what we call a body clock, and starting, I think it's, now I may be wrong on this, but I think I've seen that starting about 9 o'clock at night, your bodies actually go through a regeneration process in which your organs, your cells, and your muscles are all regenerated. But it's oxygen that does that. Your body has to have ample amounts of oxygen to do that. And if you're not sleeping, that's when your body goes into this mode where it's doing that. And if you think you are sleeping well and you've avoided everything else up to this point, I'm sorry, but you cannot stop the aging process. Starting at about the age of 20, your body loses 1% of its ability to utilize oxygen per year. So what does that mean? Well, if you're 50 years old, you've just lost 30% of your body's ability to utilize oxygen. So in summary, everyone is oxygen deficient. And you are oxygen deficient when your body's some 75 trillion cells go through a gradual oxygen starvation. And some of the symptoms of that, I mean, we've already talked about a lot of the hardcore symptoms of that. When it goes on for a long period of time, it can manifest itself in disease diagnoses. But some of the other symptoms might be like just a general body weakness or muscle aches. Maybe it's depression or irritability or memory loss, or maybe you're just a chronically hostile person. Maybe it's poor digestion or an acidic stomach, or maybe it's tumors and parasitic infections. But I can tell you this, that our Creator has given us a built-in warning system to let us know that something's wrong even before we experience these symptoms. What happens is that your cells will actually send out tiny panic signals that the body interprets as feelings of uneasiness. But many of us, we don't pay attention to it. It's just a generalized warning because we think that it's that feeling is coming from something else. But actually, your body may be trying to tell you something. Dr. Norman McVeigh says that more than anything else, good health and well-being is dependent on the maximum production, maintenance, and flow of energy, which is produced by oxygen. Now, I realize that up to this point, this presentation has maybe gotten a little bit depressing. I mean, where's the life-changing, show-stopping opportunity in this, right? Well, here it is. Here's the part that is going to give you hope. He goes on to say that sufficient oxygen gives the body the ability to rebuild itself. Does that give you hope? And not only that, but it will strengthen your immune system, which is your natural defense against disease. You are going to have the opportunity to take advantage of a tool to give your body what it needs to rebuild itself for less than 4 cents a day. You have the opportunity for less than 4 cents a day to reap astounding health benefits and to have some financial payoffs. How are you going to do that? With the Chi Machine. The Chi Machine will help you to get more oxygen, it will help you to get well, and it will certainly help you to financial freedom. But before we talk about the financial gain part of this, let's talk about why the Chi Machine is the best product of any other invention out there for oxygenating your body. To review, first of all, it was invented by a doctor who understood the correlation between low oxygen levels and disease. Now, the benefits of the Sun Ancon Chi Machine are going to absolutely blow you away. The Sun Ancon Chi Machine will help to oxygenate every single cell of your body. Now, how is it going to do that when you put your feet in it? I told you a while ago that I was going to explain that, so I'm going to do that right now. When your feet are in the Chi Machine, it moves your body in a gentle undulating motion, so you're actually getting a gentle spinal balance. But that motion on your spine causes your autonomic nervous system, it triggers it to cause the bronchioles and the alveoli to open up and expand, which allows maximum access to the lungs. Now, the Chi Machine increases circulation as well, so blood flow to and from your lungs is increased, which enhances more oxygen exchange from your lungs. But remember that this is oxygen-rich blood that is now being transferred to your body's cells, and it activates cellular metabolism. Dr. Arthur Guyton, I'm just going to say this again, says that all chronic pain, suffering, and diseases are caused from a lack of oxygen at the cellular level. So isn't it a good thing we have the Sun Ancon Chi Machine to help us oxygenate our bodies? How do we know it's really oxygenating our bodies? Well, there was a study done to show that it does this. Now, anybody who already has anywhere from 98 to 99% oxygen level in their bodies, their oxygen level may not necessarily go up, but I can tell you this, it absolutely will increase their body's ability to utilize oxygen, and at the cellular level, it will activate cellular metabolism. Now, how was this study done? Well, they used an oximeter finger probe on 29 volunteers, and what they did was they measured their oxygen before and after use of the Chi machine. They were age range anywhere from 21 to 68. Now, 6 people stayed the same, but their oxygen levels were already relatively pretty decent. But 23 people improved their oxygen percentage anywhere from 1 to 7%. Now, you talk to any paramedic, when they have somebody in the ambulance and they're giving them oxygen, I guarantee you they're going to be ecstatic if they can get that person's oxygen level to go up by 1 or 2%. The Chi machine will help it to go up anywhere from 1 to 7%. Now, I mentioned not too long ago that with the Chi machine, because it's moving your body in an undulating motion, you're actually getting a gentle spinal balance. There's no weight to your spine. Your body is in a relaxed, lying down position. And so, yeah, it can help to influence correction to certain conditions of misalignment. And let's talk about exercise for a second. How many of us know we need to get exercise, but due to busy work schedules, due to family, it's hard to stay on a consistent routine? And what about those people who know they need exercise, but due to mobility issues or health issues, they just can't? The Chi machine is passive aerobic exercise. It is a total body workout. But you don't have any pressure to your joints, and there's no strain to your body tissues, muscles, or tendons. It will increase your body's ability to utilize oxygen. So, for example, 2 minutes on the Chi machine would be equivalent to a 20-minute walk, and 15 minutes on the Chi machine would be the equivalent to a 90-minute walk in terms of oxygenation of your body. Now, how does this aid in weight loss? Well, this is what happens. When you increase your utilization of oxygen, you increase your metabolism because you're increasing your body's fat-burning processes at the cellular level, the level where it all starts. The Chi machine will help to improve your immune system. Dr. Paris Kidd says oxygen plays a pivotal role in the functioning of the immune system. Well, how does it do that? Because it's stimulating globulin production, which increases your immune system's ability to defend against invaders. Therefore, you have to deal with symptoms, disorders, and diseases much less. Okay, Mr. Brian Gullett, who's a certified herbalist, says this: the development of a shortage of oxygen in the blood could very well be the starting point for the loss of the immune system and the beginning of feared health problems such as cancer, leukemia, AIDS, candida, seizures, and nerve deterioration. The Chi machine also aids your body in blood production. Now, blood is typically produced in your spleen and in your spinal bone marrow. But through all of the reasons that we just talked about, or maybe it's an injury, your spleen is very susceptible to damage and can actually lower the level of blood production that comes from your spleen. But the massage action on your spine stimulates your sympathetic nervous system to increase spinal marrow blood production. Now, the Sun Ancon Chi machine increases circulation. An increase of spinal marrow blood production with increased circulation brings more blood to your heart. But remember, this is oxygenated blood. More blood to your heart, or the more blood you get to your heart, you've just increased your body's capacity to disperse that oxygenated blood. We also know that the Chi machine helps to balance the autonomic nervous system. Now, the autonomic nervous system is made up of the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. And when those two systems are out of balance, you can have any of the following conditions, be it insomnia, stomach pain, anxiety, constipations, on and on. But the Chi machine helps to restore balance to those systems. Also, the Chi machine exercises your internal organs. The Chi machine helps to remove energy blockages from vital organs. And when that happens, it helps to restore normal functioning to impaired organs and any of the body systems that are related to those organs. The Chi machine helps to improve waste elimination, like constipation. Do you know how many people think that one bowel movement every 2 to 3 weeks is normal? Having been in this industry for going on 8 years, I hear this more and more, that people are going maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, and that is obviously, for obvious reasons, not good for your body. Enough said. Let's talk about the lymphatic system for a second. The lymphatic system functions to cleanse your body of waste, but unlike your heart, which has a pump to move the circulation through your body, and unlike your colon, which uses peristaltic action to move waste and toxins through, the lymphatic system doesn't have a pump. But we know this, that in 15 minutes of using the Chi machine, it can move the same amount of lymph fluid that a person would have a manual lymph massage to move. The Chi machine helps to enhance endurance and increase energy. Okay, your cells need oxygen and nutrients to make ATP, and ATP is the energy that fuels your cells. Well, when you increase your body's ability to utilize oxygen, which the Chi machine will help you to do, you can improve your physical performance by up to 25%. The Chi machine also helps to promote restful sleep. We're going to talk about something called the Chi factor. The rate at which the Chi machine vibrates is very important. It vibrates at about 2.3 cycles per second, and that is the exact same frequency that your brain uses to calm the body. Your body will your brain will go into alpha mode or alpha rhythm, which is also known as the relaxation response. And this is the best state for your brain to be in order to provide for maximum oxygenation of your body. Also, in alpha mode, your brain will release the neurotransmitter serotonin, which is what our antidepressant drugs do. So the Sun Ancon Chi machine is an excellent tool to use to help with conditions of depression and anxiety. I can tell you this, I have used it for anxiety myself, and it doesn't take any more than 2 to 3 minutes, and I am back to happy sunny days. I've also had a lot of people who have used the Chi machine for other health reasons, and as a fringe benefit, they find that that their depression has improved. So this is huge. Now, the Chi machine also enhances brain activity. Our brain is about 3% of our body's mass, but it demands 20% of our body's oxygen supply. So while your muscles can store energy, your brain can't. It needs that steady flow of oxygen in order to function normally. But we know that brain loss occurs because neurons fail to get enough oxygen and blood. And we've already talked about how starting at the age of 20, your body loses 1% of its ability per year to utilize oxygen. Well, the frequency of the Sun Ancon Chi machine is critical, and it's a patented frequency, by the way. And the reason it's critical is because it creates that cross-crawl patterning of the brain, and when that is happening, it takes oxygen into every cell of the brain. Okay, this cross-crawl patterning is so huge for development, especially for children. And what's actually happening is it's basically right brain, left brain integration. Okay, now our chiropractor told us to make sure that our son could crawl before he could walk. Well, I have a little story to tell you about our son. My husband and I, we thought for sure that Ethan would be walking by the age of 12 months because his development was just so quick and astounding what he was doing in other areas. Now, it's not outside the realm of abnormal if a child doesn't walk by the time they're 12 months. Most children will walk between the ages of 9 and 16 months, so there's no reason to be concerned. But by 14 months, we thought, well, we'll try and help him a little bit. So we practiced for 3 weeks every day trying to get him to walk between the two of us, and he just wouldn't do it. Well, about 3 weeks ago, he crawled up on our Chi machine and he put his hands in it. And so I turned the Chi machine on, and after about 30 seconds, he was done. He didn't want to use it anymore. Okay, well, exactly the next day, probably exactly 24 hours to that minute that he had done the Chi machine, I was standing in our kitchen and I happened to look in the living room, and our son walked all the way across the living room. Now, I do not think that that's coincidence. The Chi machine also helps assisting in the anti-aging process. What is collagen? Collagen is that protein that creates your skin's youthful structure support. Okay? Collagen loses its ability to renew itself incrementally with age. But the hopeful thing here is that collagen can renew itself. It just depends on your body's ability to utilize oxygen. So for those of us that are looking for the fountain of youth, isn't it a great thing that the Chi machine can oxygenate every single cell and body tissue? Well, some of you might be thinking, well, what about those expensive creams and facial moisturizers? I'm sorry, but no, and I'm not picking on those things. I use those things too. But at the most, what they're doing is they're just a really fabulous moisturizer for your skin. Because here's the deal, if you have a facial cream or something that says that it has oxygen in it, oxygen is a gas, so it's not going to blend in those facial creams and moisturizers. And any product that says that it has collagen and elastin molecules in it, those molecules are too big to be absorbed through your skin anyway. And even if they could be, the proteins that go into most of those creams are dead proteins, so your body can't, they're not beneficial for your body. So let's talk about some of the main features of the Chi Machine just to review. With the Sun Ancon Chi Machine, you are getting a full body workout. It's easy to use. All you have to do is relax and lay down and the machine does the work for you. There's no injury to your body because there's no tension to your body. Your body is completely supported. And unlike with other types of heavy exercise, with the Chi Machine, your heart rate and your blood pressure are not going to increase. You get the maximum workout in minimum time. You can do 2 minutes versus a 20-minute walk, or you can do 15 minutes versus an hour and 30-minute walk. Plus, the Chi Machine is portable. It's lightweight. Now, with every good product, unfortunately, there's always a white elephant in the room. And we're going to talk about that right now. What about those oxygen bars that I was talking about earlier? I mean, we talked about how they're popping up everywhere. And yeah, they're good. They're going to get your body some oxygen. But in the research that I did in preparing this presentation, I actually found where one study showed that it may actually lower brain blood flow and oxygen use. Plus, you have to travel to use them and you have to pay for each use. Now, I talked with an associate at one of these oxygen bars, and what she said is that they do have to be very careful at the rate that they set that oxygen on the machine that they're using, because you can get too much. And she said that anybody with emphysema or like with COPD, that they would actually have to have a doctor's notice in order to put them on that equipment. What about hyperbaric chambers? Yes, I realize that these are very good. In fact, a lot of your movie stars are going to use this when they get sick. But they're over $5,000 to own and anywhere from $100 to $250 per session. Plus, and I'm not picking on them, I realize that they are good, but it would look like a great big giant submarine sitting in your living room. What about 95% pure oxygen machines? You need a prescription in order to even access them, and you can get too much. Now, I know somebody who was on his deathbed for 4 different times in a row, and he struggled to get a doctor to give him a prescription for a 95% pure oxygen machine when getting oxygen was his problem in the first place. Well, what about exercise? Now, this is not an excuse for anybody to walk away from this presentation and say that Laura Brown said you don't have to exercise. That is not the case. Exercise is very important. But it can, certain types of exercise can put excessive strain on your body. And you can actually, with the rapid breathing, create a buildup of carbon dioxide in your body, which is going to create a greater demand for oxygen. All things said and done, with these types of therapies, and I realize that they have value, please understand I am not bashing them, but when all things are said and done with these therapies, you are not getting the gentle spinal balance that you get with the Chi Machine. That gentle spinal balance alone has countless benefits. Just ask your chiropractor how important a spinal balance is. Okay, and like especially with the first 3, you're forcing oxygen into your body, but the Chi Machine trains your body to receive and utilize oxygen better on its own. Probably the biggest white elephant of all is the imitation Chi Machines. Let's talk about engineering for a second. With the Sun Ancon Chi Machine, the design mechanics are exact. Again, there was over 38 years of research that went into demonstrating the exact combination of frequency, angle, smoothness of motion, and swing distance to find out which combination would provide for the most benefit for your body. Every aspect of it, again, was researched and experimented with to make sure that it would be physiologically beneficial for every part of your body. Now, the frequency of the Sun Ancon Chi Machine is 140 plus or minus 5 oscillations per minute. This is appropriate because it's double the heart rate. Your body knows what to do with that frequency. Now, a healthier person could handle a higher frequency, but anyone with a health problem wouldn't be able to. And lower frequencies are not going to provide any benefit. Now, the other thing with 140 cycles per minute is this activates the natural rhythm of your cerebral spinal fluid. And why is that important? Well, with regular use of the Sun Ancon Chi machine, you actually can train your body to the rhythm of your cerebral spinal fluid, which is going to engage circulation and the lymphatic system. Let's talk about frequency just a little bit more. Imitation Chi machines are set at either 120 or 160 cycles per minute, but not because of research. So if you have one or you know of someone who has a quote-unquote Chi machine that has 2 cycles, I'm sorry, it's an imitation, okay? They don't set them at those cycles because of research. They do it to avoid patent infringement. Dr. Inouye's research showed that 120 cycles was too slow to produce benefit, and that 160 cycles plus was too harsh and could actually cause injury to the body. But here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. The nature of the patent on the Chi machine in the United States refers to all machines that are anywhere from 100 to 200 oscillations per minute. So therefore, if you have a machine that's 120 or 160 cycles, not only is it not beneficial, it's illegal. Let's talk about durability for a minute. The Sun Ancon Chi machine has a commercial grade motor that's built to last. Now, other people have used their Chi machine at health fairs, and my husband and I have as well. And we've used it anywhere from 10 to 12 hours consistently or continuously at a time, and the bottom of the machine doesn't even get warm. We've had our first Chi machine for going on 6 years, and there's no sign of wear. But you have to consider where the motor is placed in your Chi machine. This is very important. And the nature of the patent that we have on it protects where that motor is put. I'm going to show you of a goldfish, okay? Now, the way that goldfish undulates through the water, that's kind of the motion that your body is getting with the Sun Ancon Chi machine. And our bodies have an energy field. And what the Sun Ancon Chi machine does is it helps to make sure it restores balance to that energy field so that you're getting a perfectly symmetrical figure 8 type motion, energy motion going through your body. When that motor on imitation Chi machines is put in a different spot, and in order to avoid patent infringement, what a lot of them are doing is they're placing that motor just slightly off to the side or all the way off to the side. And what happens is if you look at the person in picture B, that's the type of thing that can happen if that motor is in the right place. Now, a lot of imitation Chi machines are going to carry warning labels on them that tell you not to run it for more than 15 minutes. And that's because the motor contains plastic parts and the machine is going to get warm. So is it really a bargain if it's going to break easily? Well, let's talk about research. Now, I've said over and over again that the Chi machine, the Sun Ancon Chi machine, and only the Sun Ancon Chi machine, has 38 years of research. There were over 100,000 medical case histories done before it was even brought to the market to show that it was effective. The FDA recognizes HTE's Sun Ancon Chi machine as a Class 1 medical device. And there was some independent research done comparing imitation Chi machines with the Sun Ancon Chi machine, and they used an EEG, and what they found was that the Sun Ancon Chi machine was the only one that would actually produce alpha rhythm. A little bit ahead of myself here. Let's talk about integrity. The Chi machine is the original design of Dr. Shizao Inouye, who is the foremost oxygen researcher in the world, and also chairman of Japan's Oxygen Health Association. He's the inventor of the Chi machine. Now, I talked to you about Ed McCabe a while back and how he is just a very educated man who has researched oxygen therapies extensively here in the United States. And in one of his books, he actually shows a picture of and talks about how the Sun Ancon Chi machine is an excellent tool for helping your body to increase its utilization of oxygen. With the Sun Ancon Chi machine, you are protected. You get a 14-day money-back guarantee, so it is a risk-free trial. With the Sun Ancon Chi machine, you have a 98% kept rate versus 40% of returns on imitation home shopping networks that are selling the imitation Chi machines. So unless it is the Sun Harmony Sun Ancon Chi machine distributed and only distributed by HTE or Synten Enterprise, it is an imitation, period. Now, what about you? Can you get excited about getting all the oxygenating benefits of a 20-minute walk in only 2 minutes? Do you see the value in being able to boost your immune system in the comfort of your own home? Wouldn't it be great to increase your body's energy every day? And do you think it would be valuable to receive a gentle spinal balance every day in the comfort of your own home? Well, you can do all of this for less than 4 cents a day. Now, where on earth is 4 cents a day bit? Well, if you're 40 years old and you live until you're 78, that's 38 years, okay? Oh, and by the way, just to reiterate, this is a one-time cost. It's a risk-free investment that comes with a 14-day money-back guarantee. So if you're 40 and you live till 78, and I'm choosing 78 because that's the life expectancy here in the United States, your cost, that one-time cost for your Chi machine, is 4 cents a day. Now let's talk about skincare. And ladies, I'm going to pick on you a little bit, and gentlemen, I'm not trying to exclude you, so I guess we'll just include you too, but I'm specifically speaking to women out there. Now, we probably spend about $50 a month on skincare, and actually that's pretty generous. We're actually probably spending more than that. When you consider how much we spend in makeup, in cleansers, in moisturizers, in tanning beds, and blah, 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 on and on and on, to perfect blemishes, to help with fine lines and wrinkles, we're probably actually spending more than $50. But assuming it's $50 a month, you will spend $1.64 a day just for skincare alone. Now consider the Chi machine with me again. With the Chi machine, you are getting maintenance and repair from the inside of your body out. So for a one-time cost that breaks down to 4 cents a day, you're getting not only the skincare part of it, you're getting a gentle spinal balance, you're getting metabolism boosting weight loss benefits, you're boosting your immune system, and you're working on prevention. Plus, I've talked to you about how many people have been helped with just having more energy and with being able to work on depression with the Chi machine. But think about prevention. In terms of how much money you would save in prevention, that's going to lower your cost per day of the Chi machine by even more. Well, we're going to move on and talk about some other products, but I promise you I'm not going to spend as much time talking about them as I did on the Chi machine, but I want you to be aware of them. The first one we're going to talk about is the far infrared heating dome. This is also known as the hothouse dome. Now, far infrared is part of the electromagnetic spectrum. It's what gives you that warm, comforting, just that it's a healing type of heat, and it creates an overall feeling of well-being. Now, the Chi machine and the far infrared dome go together like bread and butter. And if you ask anyone who owns them, they will probably tell you that they are as inseparable as white on rice. I'm going to tell you a story about a lady who called me not too long ago, a few days ago exactly. She's 78 years old, and she told me her story. But 20 years ago, she was injured. She was thrown into like a cast iron shelf or crate. And what happened was it not only injured her spine, but it cracked some ribs in her body. And over the last 20 years, she's doctored, she's done chiropractic, she's done physical therapy, massage, she's bought every gadget and gizmo out there, and she said that she has not gotten relief from anything. And when she did get relief, it wasn't a lasting relief. She told me that she can't even get out of her recliner without throwing her ribs into spasms, or the muscles around her ribs into spasms. And she said that to even get in a car is extremely difficult for her, and she dreads it because of the amount of pain she's going to be in. Well, about 1.5 years ago, she tried our Soki bed. And that's a bed that has 3 far infrared domes on it and a Chi machine. It's a medical grade massage therapy bed that HTE sells. And she tried that. Well, why did it take her an hour and a half, or 1.5 years to contact me? What she said was that when she was under those domes and used the Chi machine, that it was the best day that she'd had in 20 years. She said she can't even describe not just the physical feeling, but the overwhelming feeling of comfort that came over her in being under those domes and using the Chi machine. Okay, so back to why did it take her 1.5 years to contact me? What she said was, in that 1.5 years, she could not find anything else out there that did what the far infrared domes and the Chi machine did. Okay, so let's talk, I mean, you can't talk far infrared without talking about the sun, so let's investigate the sun for a little bit. We absorb the sun's rays through our skin and our eyes. The sun helps to stimulate metabolism. Without the sun, we lessen our body's ability to absorb nutrients. We suppress immune function. We can end up with fatigue and depression. And again, those of us in these cold states, we understand that depression issue this time of year. Can lead to sleep disorders, including insomnia. So the sun does a lot of great things for us, but unfortunately, with the sun comes ultraviolet light, and that is very damaging to the skin. It can create sunburn or cancerous changes to your skin. Now, with far infrared penetrates the skin and the insulating layer of fat by about 2 to 3 inches. So it goes about 2 to 3 inches into your body, and it begins to heal your body or get your body what your body needs to heal itself by working from the inside out. So this is quicker and faster than any other heat source, the way it penetrates. And with other heating sources, you're working from the outside in. So when you remove that source, unfortunately, lasting therapeutic benefits go away as well. Okay? Now, the fortunate part with far infrared is that it does absolutely no damage to the skin. So you can get some of the benefits of the sun without the harmful consequences. Now, I'm going to show you a list again. So go ahead and grab your pen and paper again. I want you to write the names down of everything that comes to mind when I show you this list. And I know those faces are coming to mind right now. If someone told you that HTE's far infrared dome or the hothouse could possibly help with any of the above, would you listen? Well, how can the hothouse help? Let's talk about the benefits of the hothouse. The far infrared or hothouse dome helps to repair damaged and diseased tissues because far infrared emits photons, and those photons help to release enzymes that stimulate macrophage activity and that help your body to eliminate damaged and diseases. Now, 3 Americans won the Nobel Prize in Medicine for showing that far infrared creates an enzyme action or reaction in your body called nitric oxide. The body creates nitric oxide, which acts as a signal telling your blood vessels to dilate. Well, why is that so important? Because it's going to increase circulation. How many symptoms and conditions can you think of that are created or impacted by a lack of circulation? When you put the Chi machine and the hothouse together, they go together like a wink and a smile because each one is effective on its own, but so much more valuable when you put them together. In fact, when you use the Chi machine and the far infrared dome together, they are 300 times more effective. Because you've got far infrared creating that nitric oxide, which is signaling your body to cause your capillaries and blood vessels to expand, and now you have the Chi machine oxygenating your blood, so you've got all this oxygen-rich blood circulation flowing to your body to get that to the cells and the tissues of your body that needs it. Well, let's talk about how far infrared enhances the metabolism of cells. It does this. Now, a 180-pound person walking 1 hour would burn 270 calories. A 180-pound person would have to run at 5 miles per hour for 1 hour in order to burn 654 calories. But 1 hour under HTE's hothouse dome burns over 900 calories. And you can do it when you go to bed at night. Can you get excited about laying down to rest and burning that many calories? The far infrared dome will also help your body to rid itself of toxins, be it everyday chemicals like lotion, soaps, or hair products. Maybe it's environmental chemicals, but also, and this is another way that the hothouse helps in aiding with weight loss, is it helps to regulate your hormones. If you are estrogen dependent, you're not going to lose weight, but the far infrared dome will help your body to regulate those hormones. Not only that, it's increasing circulation of your blood, so you're getting more of those proper hormones to your thyroid and your endocrine glands. The far infrared dome also helps to improve cellular vitality, so it promotes cellular regeneration like scarring, stretch marks, fine lines and wrinkles, even acne. Now, there's salons in LA that are charging about $200 a pop for a facial. And again, you can use the far infrared dome for acne without damage to your skin like a tanning bed would do. All right, far infrared also helps to raise your body's temperature. That helps promote the killing of pathogenic diseases. It modulates your immune system response by increasing production of those special immune cells. It helps to coordinate your immune system response against mutated cells. It promotes the rebuilding of injured tissues by having a positive effect on your connective tissue cells. And again, this goes with detoxification. It can also help your body to detoxify heavy metals like mercury. Now, how is far infrared being used? Well, it's being used in cancer treatments, and it's called hyperthermia. Studies from the National Cancer Institute and from Duke University Medical Center, and there are studies from St. George Hospital in Bad Aibling, Germany. Far infrared is also being used in high-risk dental surgeries and in wound care. Now, this website on the bottom of the screen is my website, and I'm going to show my information again at the end of this presentation, but I highly recommend you go to my website, click on the picture of the far infrared dome, and on the left-hand side, you will see articles about all these things that are on this slide right here. Absolutely phenomenal things. Check out the wound care articles to see pictures of how phenomenal far infrared is with healing where major wounds are concerned. Okay, so let's talk about some of the features of the hot house really quick. Normal body temperature is anywhere from 98, well, it's about 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. But when you're in a room full of people and it's crowded and you feel the body heat, we radiate far infrared out from our bodies at a wavelength of 8 to 10 microns, okay? So the far infrared dome, you're going to be, you just absorb them better when they're radiated at 8 to 10 microns, and that's what the far infrared dome does. Also, it has a super radiant heating surface. Some of you might be wondering, well, what about far infrared saunas? Aren't those good? Yeah, they're good. But unfortunately, they're not portable and they're extremely expensive. Now, the far infrared dome is closer to your body with an acute angle silicon surface. For that silicon, it's broken down into billions of tiny crystals, which increases the amount of surface area for those rays to bounce off of, and that increases your absorption of that far infrared by tenfold. There's safety features on the far infrared dome so that the surface temperature is controlled by a built-in regulator. The far infrared dome is easy to operate, it's portable, and the far infrared the actual shield is never going to touch your skin, so you're very safe and protected with far infrared. Now, in the very beginning of my presentation, I told you about my mom, how she suffered for 8 weeks with excruciating pain. It was coming from her foot, and she wasn't getting anywhere medically. She was misdiagnosed. She wasn't even getting treatment when they found out what it was. She used the far infrared dome. She started using it on a Sunday, and by Thursday the swelling had gone down and the pain was reduced, and by Saturday, just 6 days later, she was able to walk again after 8 weeks of not having mobility. Far infrared dome, I have to put this plug in there, works phenomenal for UTIs and bladder infections, and if you feel a sinus infection coming on, you put that over your face and you are going to clear up your sinuses in like 2 minutes. I've done it myself. Well, we're going to talk about the advanced ERE right now. What does the advanced ERE do? Well, it does many things, but the two main things that it works on is it works on reducing or eliminating pain very quickly, and it's based on the principles of reflexology. Now, when we have pain, you have to consider that our bodies are very electrical. And when we have pain, it's because the electrical communication between our cells and nerves has broken down. I mean, the electrical communication between our cells is absolutely mind-boggling. But when there's pain, it's because that communication has broken down between our cells. What the advanced ERE does is it goes in at the right mode and the right frequency, and it finds where that breakdown has happened, and it reconnects those circuits. So healing is promoted, and pain is reduced, even eliminated. Let's talk about reflexology again. You put your feet on the pads of the ERE and it's electrical stimulus. So you are working all the reflexology areas on the bottoms of your feet. Now, reflexology is a science that deals with the principle that there are reflex areas on our feet and hands that correspond to all our glands and organs in different parts of the body. Reflexology helps to combat the effects of improper diet and other environmental pollutants. It helps to align physical, mental, and emotional energies. And many people have used the ERE to relieve stress and tension, to improve blood supply. Fabulous, absolutely fabulous for circulation. So anybody with diabetes would really benefit from this. And also it promotes the unblocking of nerve impulses. Many people have used the ERE and have actually restored feeling to areas of their bodies that have not had feeling for years. Now let's look at some of those reflex areas. This is just going to be a real quick slide so you can have an idea of all the different areas of your body that are being worked when you use the ERE. And yes, you can put your hands on the ERE. It's phenomenal for issues of like tendonitis and carpal tunnel. Okay, so here's some things. If you have that pen handy, go ahead and start writing those names down. The ERE will help to work on pain. We've already talked about that. But it helps to reduce and eliminate parasites, and we're going to talk about this more in a minute. You get a massage for your body, plus you can massage your feet at the same time that you're massaging other parts of your body, because the ERE comes with 6 electrical stimulus pads that you can put on your shoulders or your low back or wherever. The ERE helps to energize you. It works on carpal tunnel and inflammation, works for tired, sore feet, and the list just goes on and on and on. One of the reasons that it energizes your body is because it's keeping your meridians or your body's energy pathways open. So it's removing any blockages as well. And absolutely excellent for assisting in weight loss, because when you put those pads on your body, it's actually breaking down fat cells. And just a real quick testimony here. I had such hard calluses on my feet last summer because pretty much from May through September, all I'm wearing is flimsy little flip-flops. Well, I ended up with really hard calluses on the bottoms of my feet, and it was kind of embarrassing. So I looked at the tools that I had in my home, and I decided, well, I'll just try the ERE. Well, I put my feet on the ERE. It has 3 different modes. I did each mode for 20 minutes, and I did this in the morning, like maybe about 6 o'clock in the morning. By 5 o'clock that evening, the calluses were gone, and my feet were completely smooth. Absolutely phenomenal. All right. We've already talked about a lot of the exclusive features of the ERE, so I'm not going to spend too much time here, but just suffice it to say that those heating pads are warm. When you put your feet on it, it's warm, so your feet can be nice and comfortable. You just get, you can use your pads and the feet at the same time. Excellent for injury, helps to work on any deep, severe bruising, especially those muscle groups and around those injury sites. It's lightweight and it's easy for travel. Now I'm going to talk about, well, I'm just going to go ahead and share a Parasite testimony with you. We're going to talk more about parasites in just a little bit, but when you have the ERE, you can actually use it for the purpose of parasites. Now, this is a testimony from Diane D. I know her personally. I decided to try the Parasite test with the ERE for 11 days. In the morning and evening, I used the ERE faithfully for 20 minutes each time. I've always had a mole on my neck, under my chin, and a few more black spots on my cheekbone. After the 11th day, I came upstairs to my kitchen, and something told me to touch my neck area. I did a swipe with my hand, and by Joe, the thing fell off my neck, and the ones on my cheek were gone too. Now, my husband and I know her very well, and this is a true story because we see her very often. Now, for those of you who don't believe me about parasites, check out these books. The Cure for All Diseases by Hulda Clark, or Guess What Came to Dinner by Ann Louise Gittleman. Now, I could do probably an hour-and-a-half presentation just on parasites alone, but suffice it to say that we all have them. In fact, the latest research I came across says that about 85% of Americans have them. Parasites can be the culprit behind many illnesses. And this is not just a third world country problem, okay? But people have used the ERE for parasites, and even with their pets. Pets are so smart. When you are on the ERE, they will come and sit in your lap because they know what their bodies need. Now, I have listened to people and heard testimony after testimony of people whose pets sat on their lap, and a few days later they'd see worms in the litter box. Okay? It's hard to use the ERE consistently and not end up with a parasite story. My husband and I have both eliminated parasites that you can see just by using the ERE. Moving along, and we're not going to spend too much more time. I realize your time is very valuable, but we're going to talk about the E-Power. The E-Power gives your body the energy you need for rest, and it creates more ATP. And ATP is that fuel that energizes your cells to revitalize and to balance you. The E-Power increases our electrical potential. We already talked about how our bodies are extremely electrical with all that communication between the cells. But we have about 30 to 40 millivoltages in each cell, but you multiply that by some 75 trillion cells in the body, and you have a huge electrical potential. Why do we want to increase that? Because unfortunately, as we age, the electrical potential in our bodies decreases, and especially when we're ill, really decreases. You notice how children are always running around and have lots of energy? Well, they have anywhere from 70 to 90 millivolts, but when we're sick and tired, we have lower than 60 millivolts. And anybody who has full-blown cancer or disease has about 15 millivolts. Okay, now what the E-Power does, another thing that it does, is it balances your cells with negative ions. So things like water and oxygen and nutrition can get in, but so also that things like toxins and waste and carbon dioxide can get out of your cell. This is important because we are bombarded with so many positive ions, be it computers, cell phones, electrical devices. If you're in an office building, you're surrounded by all of that. Maybe it's fluorescent lighting. I mean, it's very easy for your cells to get out of balance. And when your cells are out of balance, you might be putting good things in, but it's hard for them to absorb it. So that's where the E-Power comes in. Now, have you ever seen on an emergency type movie where the emergency personnel will get the paddles out to restart that person's heart? Well, actually what they're doing is they are delivering about 10,000 some volts to every cell in that person's body to restart it. Well, the HTE's E-Power is a way to slowly and safely recharge every cell of your body. What does all this mean? What are the benefits of the E-Power? Well, you can regenerate your cellular energy and increase your body energy. It improves oxygen levels in the body, increases vitality, the vitality of cells and their functions, and it also increases nerve regeneration. I have heard countless stories from people who have MS who have used the E-Power, and they can start reducing, if not eliminating, their symptoms. It's absolutely phenomenal. The E-Power is also excellent for anyone who's struggling with bipolar type issues because of how it goes in and it helps to balance those electrical chemistries in our bodies. The E-Power will help your capillaries to receive more oxygen. It can help to lower blood pressure, can help to aid in detoxification. Wonderful for wound healing, helps to increase performance in sports. Think about students, and in fact they actually tell us to use the E-Power when you're trying to memorize something because of what it does for mental performance, focus, and concentration. I'm going to tell you a really quick story about how the E-Power accelerates wound healing. My friend Susie, who I told you about earlier, her husband fell off a 9-foot ladder and landed onto a case of pop, and he was in so much pain that she describes him as looking like a battle victim. I mean, she said when he would walk, he'd have to grab his leg and drag it forward. So they put him on the E-Power for about 30 minutes. He did this in the afternoon. They put him on the E-Power for about 30 minutes that night and 30 minutes the next morning, and he was just fine and didn't even have a bruise to show for it. The E-Power helps to shorten recovery and repair time for athletes, but this is also important for persons with disabilities. Helps to strengthen muscle, bones, tendons, and ligaments. Helps to reduce inflammation. It helps with regeneration of injured cells. So anybody who has rheumatism, arthritis, bruises, fractures, paralysis, muscle and nerve tension, the E-Power is for you. I have a friend who has sons who are in sports, and a lot of times, especially during the summer when softball and baseball are really popular, she'll have parents calling her asking her if she can use the E-Power on their kids to help heal up shoulder and elbow injuries. Just a phenomenal piece of equipment. But also we like to refer to the E-Power as the fountain of youth as well because it helps to increase collagen. It's stimulating fibroblasts in your cells, and this creates or increases the activity of those connective tissue cells. Therefore, you increase nerve and skin regeneration. And if you're using your Chi machine consistently too, The bottom line is that you're going to look younger. Now, when I first got my e-Power, I hadn't even used it a week, and probably by the second, third day into using it, I had customers coming in asking me, Laura, what are you doing to your skin? What are you doing? You look younger. And I'd only used it for 2 or 3 days, and I didn't know what they were talking about because I'd forgot that I'd started using the e-Power. Well, one thing I want you to know is that I was a lifeguard for 12 years. I never used sunscreen. I was in the sun. I was a sun worshiper. My skin does not have one wrinkle on it. Okay, that should not be the case, and the only thing I can attribute it to is for the last 6 years that my husband and I have been using HTE's phenomenal equipment. All right, let's talk about compensation now. HTE, you are going to have the opportunity to take control. You will have the opportunity to make unprecedented amounts of income, to work from home, to leverage your time, and to increase your health. Now, these health devices are available only with HTE. And they will help you to improve your health, as we've talked about, and they will help to give you the energy you want. But they are also an incredible vehicle to give you what you need to leverage your time to make money work for you. Now, HTE, or Synten Enterprises, has been in this country. They set up offices in New York in 1993, and they also have offices in Los Angeles. They're an international company with presence in 12 countries. We've talked about the Chi machine and how they have 38 years of testing. They've sold over 2 million Chi machines. So let's talk about compensation. How can this benefit you financially? In the beginning of this video presentation, I told you that you would have a risk-free opportunity to take control of your financial future, and that's what you're being right now. HTE has the best marketing and business plan available compared to any other company. I have been involved in 6 multi-level marketing companies before HT, and I lost money with all of them. I've been approached by others to look at their MLMs, and I have to tell you that the compensation plan I've seen does not compare to HTE's. The health devices I just shared about have made me money when I wasn't even trying. Now, HTE has many business benefits, but the one that really sets them apart is this: you have something to show for your startup. Now, other MLMs have a startup fee anywhere from $500 to $2,000. And what do you get? Well, you're going to get some CDs and some marketing materials, and maybe you're going to get some samples. And let's be really generous and say that maybe you get a month's supply of product. Now, that usually isn't the case, but let's be generous and say that it is. What happens when that month is up and you realize that the business is not out, or is not for you? You are out huge chunks of money with nothing to show for it. But with HTE, you can get started for only $24.95 and the purchase of a machine. Now, your $24.95 membership will get you a business kit where you're getting all that information. You're getting the CDs and the marketing materials like you would for $500 to $2,000 with other companies. But you get your machine. You pay for your machine as well, and it's a risk-free trial with a 14-day money-back guarantee. So you have something to show for your startup. Now, in order, let's talk about some more of the business benefits. You get paid commissions on your own purchases after your first 45 points. And that first 45 points comes with the purchase of your first machine. With HTE, there are no auto shipments or monthly purchases necessary. So this is a business plan that is going to work with your immediate budget. You will never lose your rank, okay? You can come back to this 3 years later and you can move right back into a manager position if that's where you left. Now, just really quickly, with other MLMs, you're paying not only your $500 to $2,000 startup costs, but you're having to do those auto shipments. And if you slack off for 1 or 2 months because life happens to you and life happens to all of us, in a lot of them, you get penalized for that. But not with HTE. You never lose your rank. You are the best marketing material for your business because people are going to notice a difference in you. Now, every person who told me that they didn't want to do HTE as a business ends up making money without even trying because you have a product that absolutely sells itself. And as far as ranks within HTE or different commission pay levels, it is so easy to move rank because points, all points, anything that happens below you funnels up to you infinitely deep. And again, you have something to show for your startup cost. You have a life-changing, valuable piece of equipment. Now, how much? Okay, if you only paid $10 for just one of the 4 pieces of equipment we reviewed and it didn't do a single thing for you, then that would be too much money, right? But if you spent $1,000 for just one of the 4 pieces of equipment and it absolutely did everything you needed it to for your health, then $1,000 would be 100% worth it. Well, guess what? It's right in the middle. Here we go. You can purchase a deluxe combo package. That would be the Chi Machine, the Grande Hot House, the Advanced ERE, and the E-Power. At regular price, that would run you just under $2,600. But at the promotion price of $2,049, you are saving over $500 if you act now. That's what the current special is. So if you're 40 years old and you live until you're 78, that's only 19 cents a day at regular price. But if you take advantage of that, over $500 of savings today, your cost breaks down to less than 15 cents a day. Not only that, the Chi Machine has a 2-year warranty, and the other 3 pieces of equipment have a 1-year warranty. And remember, this is a one-time risk-free cost with a 14-day money-back guarantee. So can you save money by purchasing a used machine? Yes, but no. You assume all the risk when you do that, and you cheat yourself out of future commissions and benefits. When you purchase new equipment, the specials and your commissions off of your purchase can bring the cost down to a used machine price. Plus, you will have access to me and Jeremiah. We will be able to answer your questions and help you and train you so that you can be as successful as you want to be. Not only that, when you purchase all 4 of those pieces of equipment and you do the membership for only $24.95, not only do you make that $24.95 back, because you're going to get a commission back of roughly $157. Now, that breaks your daily cost down to less than 14 cents. How much do you spend on a bottle of vending machine pop? Maybe $1.25, and actually it's even more than that now. But let's assume it's $1.25. At $1.25, you would pay for 9.5 days of your equipment cost. And what about those $4 foo-foo coffee drinks? At $4 on one coffee drink, you would just pay for 29.5 days of your equipment cost. Again, it's a one-time cost. Remember skincare that we talked about? At $50 a month over the next 38 years, you're going to spend just under $23,000, okay? And let's talk about supplements. And again, I'm not bashing supplements. We use them. But let's assume you're spending roughly $100 a month on supplements. Over the next 38 years, that's going to be over $45,000 that you'll spend. Why not make your better use of your supplements? Get them to work better for your body, but getting your body the one thing it needs in order to better utilize those products. Your body needs oxygen. We've talked about that extensively. Now, some of you are out there thinking, you're like, what about consumables? How can you earn residuals off of this? Well, I only talked about 4 pieces of equipment that HTE has to offer, and they actually have many other products like handheld palm massagers, far infrared heating pads, far infrared lumbar massage cushions, and yes, they do have consumables. And nutritional supplements like Go Green. Let's talk about Go Green. Go Green is a vegetable drink that is fuel for your entire body. You would have to eat 46.5 apples to get the same amount of vitamin A, 28 bananas to get the same amount of vitamin E, 7.5 cups of blackberries to get the same amount of zinc, 19 spears of magnesium or of asparagus to get the same amount of magnesium, 4 tomatoes to get the same amount of iron, 1.5 beets to get the same amount of vitamin C, and 28.5 ears of corn to get the same amount of calcium as you would get in just 1 scoop of Go Green. Now, this product can eliminate a lot of other supplements, and everybody gets value out of it. We started giving this to our son when he was about 8 months old because he stopped wanting to eat the other vegetables I was preparing for him. And you know what? Our little boy is very, very healthy. Well, what about residuals? Well, here you go. You can set your customers up on an auto shipment with Go Green, but you don't have to. HTE doesn't require that auto shipment, so it will work with everybody's budget. So now and you want to get started. How do you get started? Well, get back in contact with the person who showed you this video, or feel free to contact me or Jeremiah, and our contact information is going to be available at the end of this presentation. But what you're going to have to do is purchase one or more of the pieces of equipment we discussed in this presentation. That will get you your 45 points. Plus, you're going to purchase your business kit for $24.95, and you're going to get all those excellent marketing materials. And again, remember, your equipment comes with a 14-day money-back guarantee, so a free startup trial. All right. You have valuable pieces of equipment that are going to help to improve your health and increase your quality of life. Plus, you can start earning commissions. Now, believe me, those commissions are going to find you whether you think you're going to do anything with this or not. Even if you try to not do this as a business, people are going to try your equipment because they're going to see it. They're going to love it and they're going to want to buy it, and word is going to spread like wildfire, because that is what happened to us. And that is what happened to a lot of my people who purchased one piece of equipment and told me that the only reason they were purchasing the $24.95 is so that they would get a better deal on their other equipment. All those people are off selling equipment now, and they're not even trying. Now, I know a massage therapist. If you're a massage therapist listening to this tonight, you have to call me, because I know one who uses this with her, or uses this equipment in her business. Her clientele has grown through the roof. So how do you earn? Let's talk about commissions. When you purchase your first machine and get 45 points, and you've purchased your $24.95 membership, you will start after that point earning commissions of about 15% of business volume points. So when the Chi machine is selling at the typical sale price, you would get about $60 back. Now, in order to become a supervisor, you earn 360 business volume points, which is very easy to do because remember, all points are funneling up to you. Or, and this is absolutely phenomenal, HTE makes it so easy for you to earn money that they will actually let you start this business as a supervisor by purchasing that deluxe combo package that I just showed you on a couple previous slides. You will get commission back on that purchase, and after that purchase, you will start earning commissions at about 24% of business volume point. So when the Chi machine sells at its typical sale price, you would get about $96 back. Okay, I'm going to go off on a little tangent here, okay? Now, with other multi-level marketing companies, it would take you anywhere from 8 to 12 months to earn that much back from one person, if and only if you were able to keep them on their auto shipments, okay? With HTE, you get the reward right away. Now, what is that? How is that calculated? Well, you take everything that HTE sells has points. So you take the number of points, you multiply it by 10, and you multiply it by your commission rate. So let's say somebody purchases something that has 40 points. You multiply 40 by 10, that gives you 400. And let's say you're a supervisor, you multiply that by 24%, and now you get a $96 commission. All right, you can also promote to being a manager. At manager level, your commissions are 32%. So at the typical sale price of a Chi machine, that's $128. And when you become a president, your commissions skyrocket to 40%. So just selling one Chi machine, you would get about $160. Now, if this wasn't phenomenal enough, we've only talked about what you earn when you sell something directly. We've not talked about the amazing overrides that you get in this business, or the growth bonuses. Plus, you can earn trips and vehicles, and there's just a ton of other valuable benefits in this. Now, we're going to wrap this up, okay? But I want to ask you a question. What do you think is the healthiest, which country in the world is the healthiest country in the world? There was a report that came out about 3 weeks that talked about this. If you guessed Japan, you are correct. So aren't you glad that HTE's Chi machine was invented by a Japanese doctor? Now, most of you listening to this, you're in the United States. Guess where your country ranks as far as being healthy? If you're a male in this country, your country is 29th. And if you're a female in this country, your country is 33rd. Where are you going to put your trust and your money when it comes to your health? Are you going to sit on the sidelines and do nothing and end up in financial setbacks or with health crises? Or are you going to take action for your health? Are you going to take action to secure a financial future for yourself? Now, I'd like to tell you that as an added bonus, when you sign up with Jeremiah or I, in order to help you avoid copyright issues, we are going to give you written consent to use this video training so that you can share it with other people. Maybe you're thinking, there's no way I'd be able to spit back everything that she just said. We will let you use this training material, this video. Plus, we'll help you in any way we can. That's what we love to do. So this is a great way to be able to explain what you do and what your equipment does, even if you are new to the company. You will become duplicatable, and that will give you the ability to leverage your time to make money work for you. Now, here's my contact information. Feel free to contact me, or maybe one of my other team members shared this video with you. Contact them, okay? Otherwise, feel free to contact Jeremiah or I. The best way to get a hold of me is to shoot me an email or to give me a call on my cell phone or on my phone, and I will get a hold of you as soon as I can. Just leave a message if I don't answer. Now, depending on when you're watching this, the company's specials may have changed, but the special discounts might be even better. It doesn't necessarily mean they've gone up. It means that maybe they're better. A lot of times they can be. So maybe the company's added on some free gifts, or I say this because they've done that a lot of times in the past. So give us a call right now. You are the only one who can stand in your way. Blessings and abundance to you.